Hi and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today's video I'm going to be showing a collection of original UK Beatles 1960s programmes, so please come and join me. So hello again and a wonderfully warm welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Really hope I find all you fabulous Beatles people really fab out there, and thank you for joining me again today on the channel. So yes, on today's video I'm going to be showing you fabulous people my modest collection of Beatles programmes from the 1960s. And actually I've really only been collecting these UK programmes probably in about the last 20 years or so. And to be honest, I never really went looking for them or actually came across that many on my travels. But I was just so totally into vinyl that I just kind of left them. So it wasn't until the advent of the likes of eBay that I found myself finding out about them and actually started to purchase ones that I could find. So I'm still obviously looking for certain ones. I mean, I haven't got, many, but I certainly got a nice little collection which I think you're really going to enjoy seeing. So that's going to be coming up very, very soon. But before then, of course, it's time for something a little bit different. Ask BeatleDave, yeah. So yes, it's time for Ask BeatleDave. We're going to be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related. Maybe about anything to do with something I've shown you or haven't shown you. Solo careers, Apple, you name it. And I'll endeavour to answer it right here for you guys. So today's question is from Polythene Paul. How you doing, Paul? Hope you're well, my friend. And he asks, BeatleDave, do you have a favourite Beatles album sleeve or even a top 3? So thanks for that great question, Paul. I mean, that really is a good question. Okay, so with so many great and groundbreaking album sleeves, I'm going to pick 3 which I feel are my absolute favourite out of the original British album releases. Okay then, so in no particular order, and actually my first choice is going to have to be Please Please Me. I mean, to me, this really is something special about this album sleeve. I mean, I must have spent absolutely hours and hours over the years just looking at this album sleeve and imagining how they felt on the crest of an incoming tidal wave in March 1963. And to me, they also look really, really happy, standing on the balcony of 20 Manchester Square. So another fabulous cover then is technically their last recorded album, Abbey Road. And once again, I've looked at this cover and studied it for hours, looking at the 4 guys walking across the crossing and wondering what they were thinking and what their state of mind was after the previous 7 years of being on top of the world. But of course, it's also a fabulous Beatles location to visit, and of course you can annoy the motorists keep walking backwards and forwards across the crossing. Although I said these are not in any order, if I was pressed, I think Rubber Soul would probably rank as my favourite Beatles album sleeve. Absolutely love the look of the Beatles on this sleeve. I mean, they look just so cool in their suede jackets and mid-60s Beatles haircuts. And of course, though, the image has been slightly stretched to give it that elongated look on their faces. I mean, just totally ahead of its time, this album sleeve. Absolutely fabulous. So, Paul, I really hope that answers that question for you. And guys, if you'd like to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, just send me a question in the comments and I'll include it in a future episode. It's that simple. So come on, please please me by getting involved and ask me some super questions. Okay then, so moving on, it's time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to those fabulous old shout-outs, but before I get to those, I just want to add a very special mention to an eBay seller who is Stephen Madison. I recently bought this framed The Art of Stuart Sutcliffe, which is behind me there, for an incredibly low price, and he very kindly also included the Beatles Era, which is on my right there, as well, and I was totally knocked out by his kindness. So actually I'm going to be putting Stephen's eBay link in this video's description if anyone else wants one of these fabulous items. And perhaps if you mention me, then maybe he'll do you a super deal as well. Thank you very much, Stephen. So also then a great big BeatleDave hello to Gothic55, Bob JPGR, Mario, Brian Parker, Marcus, Percy Cabello, Chris Snyder, Nanky Poo, Bill Leary, Terry Zoback, David G. Barron, Jeff the Video Guy, Michael Noland, how you doing Michael, and Sabina He. So that's a massive hi to all of you Beatle people from yours truly, BeatleDave. So on to the main event then today, and it's a look at some fabulous original 1960s Beatles programmes. So please, come and join me. So here is then my modest collection of Beatles' original UK tour programmes from the 1960s. I'm going to be starting with this particular one, which is from late 1963, also known as their Autumn 1963 tour, and it actually went from the 1st of November to the 13th of December, so these programmes would have only been around for about 6 weeks. So I've got the silver, and also there's a gold one, which not as quite as good as the silver one I've got, but I don't know what's the matter. It's kind of gone a bit funny on the actual cover itself, but the contents of both programmes are exactly the same. But of course you can see there the Beatles show, and we're just going to take a look at the silver one, I think, which is obviously in much better condition. So you've got the Beatles show there. So just going to have a flick through. And obviously this particular tour, it went from the 1st of November to the 13th of December, and they were in places like Cheltenham and Leeds and London and Dublin and Birmingham, Plymouth, Bournemouth, of course at the Winter Gardens, which is on the 16th of November, and also Manchester, Hull and Liverpool on the 7th of December. But this is in really nice condition, this particular one. As you can see there, Arthur Howells by arrangement with Brian Epstein presents The Beatles Show. So let's start flicking these pages. Great photo of the guys there in their collarless suits. A little bit of text. Another great photo there. And personally speaking, a little bit of text from each of the guys there. And of course, great adverts there for Please Please Me and with the Beatles. And of course, you can see there, you've got the stereo and the mono editions there. So on the right there, of course, we've got the actual lineup of the show itself. You've got the Rhythm and Blues Quartet with the Vernon Girls, Frank Berry, the Brook Brothers, Frank Berry again, Peter J and the Jaywalkers. Then there's an interval with the Rhythm and Blues Quartet again, followed by the Kestrels, Frank Berry again, and of course, everybody waiting to see the Beatles. Right, let's see what's on the next page. We're halfway through already. These are not many pages in these actual programmes, but just enough, you know. So you've got all the other artists there. And then we've got some advertisements for Nempix, Kestrels and the Vernon Girls. And on the last page, Peter J and the Jaywalkers and the Vernon Girls. But that one's in quite good condition. But as I say, it was only around, silver one and the gold one, around for about 6 weeks. So on to the next programme then, which of course is the Beatles Christmas show, and this was held at the Finsbury Park Astoria Theatre on the 24th of December 1963 to the 11th of January 1964, so only about 3 weeks then, so this programme was only available for a very short time as well. So this is a really fabulous looking programme, this one. Of course you've got Brian Epstein presents the Beatles Christmas show with souvenir programme. And of course you've got the wonderful With the Beatles photo taken at the Palace Court Hotel in Bournemouth. Recently did a video about Bournemouth and Poll, about the Beatles in Bournemouth and Poll. If you want to check that one out, I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So let's take a look inside the actual programme itself then. So we've got a great picture of the guys there on the left. And of course you've got the stars of the show on the right there, and it says Brian Epstein presents the Beatles Christmas show, obviously starring the Beatles, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, The Foremost, Tommy Quickly, Rolf Harris, Cilla Black, and of course the Barron Knights. And it was devised and produced by Peter Yolland at the Finsbury Park Astoria between the 24th of December 1963 and the 11th of January 1964. So let's take a look at the rest of the programme. Plenty of information there about the guys. And then Billy J. Kramer there. Rolf Harris, the Dakotas, And then we got some advertisements there. The hit songs from the show as featured by the Beatles, Billy J, Cilla Black and Tommy Quickly, as well as The Foremost. And 2 great song albums. Obviously there you got Northern Songs and Dick James credits there as well at the bottom. And then we got, once again, all the advertisements for the people in the show. Then we got The Foremost with Cilla on the right hand side there. More advertisements on the left there. Beatles sweaters and books. Tommy Quickly. Successful groups come to the cities. Sound City for their equipment and service. Of course, we've got the Vox Go the Beatles advertisement there, and of course, where would we be without those fabulous Vox amps? And then the Baronites. Finally then, you got advertisements for the Beatles with the Beatles album, and of course Listen, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotahs, with the singles I Want to Hold Your Hand and I'll Keep You Satisfied. With another great photo of the guys there with facsimile autographs. And then on the back there, is that Tommy Quickly maybe? Quite possibly. Great stuff. Not bad condition, that one. So after conquering the world, the Beatles came back to the UK to perform their autumn tour of 1964, and this ran from the 9th of October 1964 starting at Bradford to the 10th of November 1964 in Bristol. So they actually performed at many other towns and cities, including Birmingham, Wigan, Manchester, Stockton-on-Tees, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Kilburn in London, Brighton, Bournemouth at the Gaumont on the 30th of October, Southampton and Liverpool on the 8th of November. Great looking programme this one. It's known as the Four Aces, really looking fabulous. So let's take a look inside. Then we've got the Beatles there on the left, of course, with the Beatles show and nationwide tour presented by Arthur Howells and Brian Epstein. Touring manager John Clayton with Mary Wells. So let's have a little flick through then. John and George there, plenty of information. It's in really good condition, this programme, it's beautiful really. Paul and Ringo, of course. More info. Great picture of Mary Wells. And then some advertisements there. Beatles A Hard Day's Night, Mary Wells, Michael Haslam and Sounds Incorporated. Also got the programme of the Rustics, Michael Haslam, Bob Bain, Sounds Incorporated and of course Mary Wells before the interval. Then you got the Remo 4, Bob Bain, Tommy Quickly, Bob Bain again and the Beatles right at the end. So the next page then, more Vox amplification advertisements there. Top Gear, Jennings, Michael Haslam, must admit I've never heard of him, Mary Wells and of course Sounds Incorporated. Now I know all about them. Great bunch of guys, good musicians. Record Mirror, advertisements for the Record Mirror and Tommy Quickly. Top Gear Tailoring, Span, a little bit of ink or something there, I think there's little spots of it. The Rustics and the Remo 4. And right at the end there, looks like we've got some upcoming tours. Arthur Howells and Brian Epstein present Jerry and the Pacemakers. Direct from the USA, Gene Pitney, Marianne Faithfull, Bobby Shafto and the Roof Raisers, Brian Burden, the Mike Cotton Sound, the Dynamic Kinks, and of course, right at the bottom there, commencing in January 1965, Cilla Black. Really nice programme this one actually, really like this one. So on to another Beatles Christmas show then, and this ran from the 24th of December 1964 to the 16th of January 1965 at the Hammersmith Odeon in London. So nice looking Yuletide picture there from John Lennon, one of his little drawings. So let's take a look on the inside then. Of course, great photo of the guys there on the left, with Brian Epstein presents another Beatles Christmas show. The Beatles, Freddie and the Dreamers, Jimmy Savile, Sounds Incorporated, Elkie Brooks, the Yardbirds, Michael Haslam, the Mike Cotton Sound, and Ray Fell. Of course, devised and produced by Peter Yolland, who also did the last Christmas show, obviously at the Hammersmith Odeon on Thursday the 24th of December 1964 to Saturday the 16th of January 1965. Oh, wish I was there. Anyway, some great photos of the guys, and in concert as well. More text on the guys. It's difficult to flick these pages with these gloves on. So, Freddie and the Dreamers, Freddie Garrity. And then we got some advertisements there for Fabulous. Sounds Incorporated, great band, really good musicians. And there we have all the people in the show. Brian Epstein presents another Beatles Christmas show with all the artists there involved. Let's flick that over. The fabulous songs featured by the Beatles, published by Northern Songs in association with the company of Dick James Music. Elkie Brooks, there's a very young looking Elkie Brooks there. This must be one of the first things she's ever done, I should imagine. Some great advertisements there for the Beatles. And we actually got the reel-to-reel advertisements, which is really good to see on tape records there, Parlophone records. And then we got Ray Fell with more advertisements there, no doubt about it. Western Music Company Limited. The fabulous Yardbirds, brilliant shot of the guys there. I like the Yardbirds, a really good band. Michael Haslam, Boyfriend, that sounds like a magazine. Mike Cotton Sound, Elkie Brooks there, Jimmy Savile, and I think that's it. That's the last page. And more Lennon drawings. Sadly, a little bit of tape residue there. It's a real irritation. But it's a great looking programme, this one. And say it's only been available for 2 to 3 weeks. So the final tour programme I'm going to show today then is the Beatles 1965 UK tour, and this ran from the 3rd of December 1965, starting in Glasgow and ending on the 12th of December 1965 at Cardiff, playing places like Newcastle, Liverpool on the 5th of December, Manchester, Sheffield, Birmingham and London as well. So a fabulous looking photo then from their animated cartoon series from the mid-60s. Really nice photo. Well, let's take a flick through then. So the first photo then is obviously from Granada Studios when the Beatles did the music of Lennon McCartney. And then we got the Beatles, A Living Legend. Bit of text there. Paul and George with Ringo, Paul and John. And then we got the Beatles, official Beatles fan club. And then some information about the Moody Blues, obviously featuring Denny Lane, who was a member of Wings later on, an important member of Wings, of course. And then we got Jerry Stevens and the Kubas. And then we got the whole show there, the whole layout of the show, the Beatles show, starting with the Paramounts. Then we got Jerry Stevens, Beryl Marsden, actually, who was at the convention this year. Got some video of her, actually, on my Liverpool video. Jerry Stevens again, the Moody Blues with the intermission. And then we got the Kubas, the Marionettes, and Jerry Stevens, followed by, of course, the Beatles. And there's some more information there. They mentioned Johnny Dean, which is obviously the editor of the Beatles Monthly book. The Marionettes, and then the Paramounts, Beryl Marsden, who I mentioned, who was in Liverpool, and then we got the Moody Blues with a little bit of sad little bit of tape residue on there, which is really annoying, but it's still in great condition, this programme. And that's it, guys. That's all my programs. You know, I'd certainly like a few more than what I've got, but it's just nice to have the ones I have got, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you all for joining me today, guys, on the channel, and I really hope you've enjoyed seeing my fabulous Beatles programs from my collection. And don't forget, as always, I appreciate any comments or communication I get from any of you Beatles people, and I'll always come back to you just as soon as I can. So the next video, I'm going to be showing the fabulous Beatles in Mono CD box set from 2009, which has been suggested by Be a Good Dogger. How you doing, Scott? And this set is actually one of the original first batch of 10,000 boxes, and of course I got it on the day of release. So please make sure that you're here in 2 weeks, same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off. BeatleDave.